let's just say I went through an assault in 2018, basically the reckoning of, oh my goodness, I really have to deal with this. And, my mental health is failing. And so I went through a lot of things. I went through a lot of processes medically, the normal medical routes that one would go down. And it was just a very slow and stagnant process. And I leaned on a lot of people, and I did my best to sort of like seek that help. Am I alone in this? Like, what is wrong with me? Why is this not working? So I came across the SAS podcast in your episode. That's when I sort of like had this really validating moment of, wow, this isn't just me having this experience. I'm not doing something wrong. And that's really where it all began.
So the fact that you remember exactly where you were when you had this sort of eureka moment, this aha moment that was, memorable. If you can remember exactly where you were, it's because your brain imprints all of the details about an emotional experience you're having, including where you were shopping, what you were buying, right?
Hmm.
And having that eureka or aha moment, can you speak to that a little bit, and what it felt like to maybe discover that there was a different way of doing things?
Eureka moment actually was when you had said the three rules, and you had explained like what was stopping me. And I was like, oh, I'm trying to go too fast. I'm not giving my brain a chance to heal. And it gave me permission to look at all these symptoms that I was given. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, I don't have to look at the symptoms. I mean, I look at the symptoms, I
You're
can
aware of them.
acknowledge the symptoms, but
Yeah.
I don't have to microscope those and say, okay, time to attack the dysfunction of not being able to get out of bed today. Not feeling like taking a shower, this kind of stuff. Like it just suddenly it all made sense that, yeah, you heal the brain, and then that other stuff sort of just falls away, and you're like, oh yeah, I guess I just did like all those things that I was struggling with, that I was making lists about to tell my doctor about. And like you're sitting there, going, oh yeah, I guess I have made a lot of progress. But
Yeah.
turn around and you're like, oh, I'm functional.
You're like, I'm functional. Oh my God, I'm function now.
Oh my God, would you look at that? I'm wearing pants today.
A shock. I am not wearing pants today. Yeah, that's exactly it too. And I think that it's so many of my clients come to me with a very similar experience where they get so hyper focused on the symptoms because they're painful, right? Like you said, the dysfunction, not being able to get out of bed, not being able to take a shower, not being able to even convince yourself to like put pants on today.
That's it.
And it
also
feels overwhelming.
That, and the medical system is built to hyper analyze those symptoms. So it's like, not only do I have to tell my story multiple times to multiple professionals just because I need somebody to validate my experience so that way I can get doctor's notes or a prescription or this or that.
How long do you think it took before you, I guess, like you said,
Actually, we
there's
just had my
skepticism.
4-month anniversary at the shop. So March 11th.
So 3 months.
Yeah.
3 months. And that's not just 3 months to, oh, I'm starting to feel better. That's 3 months to a complete 180 in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Just, learning and being able to sort of stretch myself into those uncomfortable spaces, which, let me tell you, there were some uncomfortable moments where I just sat there and I was like, oh boy, this is a roller coaster. But it's worth it. It's so worth it, and I think that having that goal and having that ability to look at the overall bigger picture, the widened tolerance to be able to say, okay, this is uncomfortable right now, but this will pass.
Right. Well, you knew you had the tools to handle it.
Yeah.
Right. That's kind of the key. We had a call about something, you had an experience, and it was one of these like, hey, I got to tell you, this thing happened. Oh, and by the way, I'm really proud of myself and how I handled it. I
Yeah.
don't know if you remember that call. It sticks in my
I
head
think
as
I
something.
remember the moment I was like experiencing, and it sort of crept up on me because I was I was I was on my way to work, and I realized I was actually like just smiling like a fool walking walking through, yeah, walking through the street, and I was just like, I'm gonna pull out my camera so this seems less weird. Do a little
You were
do a little
so
photo op, you
happy.
know.
You were
um
so happy. You thought it looked weird to be happy. So you had to
yeah.
pretend you had a reason to be happy.
Yeah, I was smiling so big. I was just like, let me like just not even so much as, I mean, now it's documented, but at the same time, it was just this moment of like, oh my God, I'm in such a good place right now that I'm literally just walking with this big grin on my face. And and that's where I really, it really set in. It's like, wow, I think I'm pretty good right now. Like, and that was not something that I felt like was possible.
We do tend to live one crisis to the next when our nervous system is completely dysregulated. And that's trauma, right? When our
Mhm.
trauma hijacks parts of our brain, it makes life difficult. Even the simplest things become difficult. And you get so used to it. CPTSD, for example, this complex post traumatic stress seeps into all the areas of our life.
Yeah.
We start to believe that this is just this hellish norm that we live in. And I'm so happy that you even have a picture of that moment, even though you, like you said, you didn't intend to document it, but you have a picture of like the day you were like, wow, I think
Yeah.
I've arrived. Like, I think I'm here.
Yeah.
And that's huge. I mean, I got goosebumps after that phone call. Like right now, even talking about it, I have this like tingly feeling of like, that's what this is all about. It's about
Yeah.
realizing that it is not about coping. It is about healing and, getting to a destination that maybe it's hard to believe is possible, but
It is. You know what? I think that was the biggest thing that took me by surprise was just once we started doing the work, once things had sort of been regulated, and once you started challenging us in the group to start taking steps, like, the first step was I went and rented that space. And I thought that was such a big, huge deal. And I was like flying on top of the world, and my energy was so different. But lo and behold, that wasn't even the bigger step. That was the little bitty bitty step
like
to
dipping your
the
toe in, right?
amazing space that I got to now, where I can be surrounded by like-minded individuals supporting me, helping me grow even further and expand even further. It's like, it's blowing my mind, because had you told me that I was going to be in this position when we started, I mean, I definitely would have tagged along for the experience, but wouldn't have
We
believed
didn't believe it was possible.
it, you know?
Yeah.